Welcome to another episode with your chapter crush sweetheart. This is Everblue Presents When You're Enough, a chapter crush sweetheart series. Michel, Chapter 11. There is nothing more truly artistic than to love people. Vincent van Gogh. I end the call after leaving yet another voicemail with a frustrated growl. It's been days of messaging, calling, and randomly showing up to Yvette's townhouse and getting no response. Bronwyn was able to get the enrollment information for Doriane's school, but I need Yvette's written permission before I'll be allowed to enroll her. In the meantime, I've been in contact with my lawyer in France to see if we can get a judge to sign off on it. That may not be the only petition we'll be making to the judge. Yvette has had plenty of chances, but when her selfish choices detrimentally affect our daughter, it's time to cut her off. In the meantime, I have to maintain a calm face for Doriane. The hardest part is keeping her entertained while I'm working from home. I don't have many meetings that are mandatory throughout the week, but when I do, I'm thankful she's gotten really good at practicing for school. Honestly, I don't know why Yvette had Doriane staring into space for long periods of time. After all, that's nothing like school, and while it has proven useful for the 20 or so minutes I need to be on call, I still feel guilty. Perhaps I should invest in a TV. It's on Tuesday, after I finish cleaning up from dinner with Doriane, that I find her whispering with Bronwyn as they sit together at the piano. They've been locked away in the music room every night after dinner, but today the door is open when I approach. "What are you ladies up to this evening?" I ask, hands on my hips. Doriane's head pokes out from behind the piano first. "No, Papa, we aren't ready yet." I smile as Bronwyn leans over to speak out next to Doriane. "I think Dory will be ready in about 5 minutes. Okay, I'll be back in 5. I turn to leave but realize I haven't seen Bronwyn go into the kitchen since she's arrived home from work. It's already 7:30 and if I'm right, she may have forgotten to eat lunch as well. That seems to happen to her quite a lot. "Who wants a snack?" I casually toss out. "Not me, Papa. I'm full." "Me?" Bronwyn excitedly calls. "Noted," I call, spinning towards the kitchen. Maybe it wouldn't help to make a little more food at every meal. Even if Bronwyn doesn't want it, I can always eat it for lunch the next day. Taking out a baguette, I slice it up, making a small charcuterie from the meats, cheeses, olives, cornichons, and dried figs I bought earlier today. Adding a blueberry preserve to the tray at the last moment, along with a few utensils, I shove a couple of bottles of sparkling water in my pockets and balance everything all the way back to the music room. Pausing at the entrance, I call out, "I'm sorry, I should have asked if it's alright to eat in here." "Sure, just give me 2 seconds." "Okay, as long as you sit away from the piano, it's fine," comes Bronwyn's muffled reply. Stepping into the room, I find it curious that every light is on, including the overhead chandelier. Coming around the piano, I realize they must be hiding in the half-bath room. "Are you sitting down, Papa?" I promptly set all the items down on the table in front of the sofa and take a seat. "All right, I'm sitting." The bathroom door opens and quickly closes. "Ta-da!" Doriane jumps out from behind the piano, and I enthusiastically clap my hands as she curtsies. She's dressed in an adorable yellow and white sailor dress, complete with the captain's hat, and I can't help but notice how she glows in happiness. "Wow!" I exclaim with a laugh. "You're so pretty." "Thank you, Papa. What about Miss Brownie?" Looking under the table and around the room, I shrug. "Where is Miss Brownie?" Dorian giggles before singing, "You can come out." My eyes bulge when Bronwyn steps out gracefully waving her hands with a broad smile. Her black gown hugs her curves in such a way that she must have pulled it on. The single shoulder and bodice is made up of tiny applique flowers stitched to a sheer material. Somewhere around her hips, velvet flares out before dramatically cascading to the floor, and when she moves, it reveals a slit that stops at her mid-thigh. Bronwyn still has on her slippers, her curls tossed up in a high ponytail, and she wears not a stitch of jewelry or makeup. I think she may be the most captivating beauty I've ever encountered. "Well, Papa, Miss Brownie let me pick the dress. Do you like it?" Dorian's voice breaks me out of the daze I've fallen into, and swallowing toward my dry throat, I clap enthusiastically. "Wow, you're beautiful. You're both beautiful." They look at each other, giggling, and Dorian whisper shouts, "I told you it would fit. You did, but if I sit down and it rips, you'll cover me, right? Doriane laughs. Yes, unless the rip is too big, then Papa can cover you. I close my eyes, rolling my lips into my mouth as I pray I didn't tell what I think I just yelled. I think your papa would be too busy laughing to help me. Ugh, I definitely would not be laughing. No, he won't laugh. He will cover you and pick you up too and give you kisses if you're crying. Doriane, being my daughter, argues in her dear papa's behalf. All I can do is shake my head. What? Thankfully, cooler heads prevail when Bronwyn laughs. How about we hope that doesn't happen, okay? Okay, Dorian exclaims. I then open my eyes to see my daughter, my own child, turn and look at me and proudly declare, but he would. Bronwyn throws her head back, laughing so hard I feel she may really split that dress. I can't help laughing too, and when Dorian joins in, there are actual tears rolling down our faces. When we pick ourselves up, I make the mistake of saying, careful, you're really putting that dress to the test. By the time our laughter winds down, Bronwyn is holding her cheeks, claiming they hurt. Dorian is holding her belly, and I'm using napkins to mop the tears from my face. Okay. Ooh, Bronwyn says, trying to compose herself. Ooh, Dorian parrots with a giggle. No, I hold up a finger. Don't start that again. Okay. Before we start, there's a disclaimer. Bronwyn smiles, folding her hands elegantly in front of her. The last time I wore this dress was for my final college recital. If you hear any rips, tears, or the sound of stitches popping, you're strongly advised to hide your face until I can run for my life. Thank you. That starts me snickering. Bronwyn puts her hands on her hips, turns to Dorian and says, I thought you said he wouldn't laugh. We lose it all over again. Thankfully, Dorian claps her hands and waves them over Bronwyn as she yells, Now, presenting Miss Brownie. I burst into enthusiastic applause, keeping my eyes straight ahead as Bronwyn dips into a curtsy. Standing, she waves her hands at Dorian. And Miss Dory. Everyone again burst into enthusiastic applause, loving the way my little girl is beaming. Together they turn to me shouting, For one night only. This is one song only. Then, as Bronwyn proceeds to the piano bench, she fluffs her gown over the seat in a way that has me averting my eyes and sending up prayers that the stitches hold as she sits. After readying herself, she looks over her shoulder at Dorian and counts her off. This is for you, Papa, Dorian shouts as Bronwyn begins playing the piano. Together, they begin singing a French nursery song, On the Bridge of Avignon, that involves different dances based on who is on the bridge. First, gentlemen bow, but they skip that verse for some reason and go straight to ladies' curtsy. As Dorian dances around, executing all of her curtsies, it's so cute that I pull out my phone and begin recording. When they move into the next stanza about young girls saluting, Dorian shuffles along like she's tap dancing. But when the steps repeat, I realize she really is tap dancing. As Bronwyn blows Dorian a kiss, my daughter is singing and laughing, and my eyes tear up seeing all this happen. This is exactly the kind of attention she craves from her mother, and she's just glowing. If only Yvette could see our daughter now. Maybe that would give her an idea of what she's missing. Secretly dabbing at my eyes, it's not a moment too soon, because as the last stanza comes to an end, Bronwyn has already stood up while continuing to play. That's when Dorian shuffles over to the piano and sits down. When Dorian's little fingers take over playing this simple version of the song, I'm fighting back tears, but there's no help for it. Bronwyn reaches onto the bookshelf behind her, picks up a violin and bow I hadn't noticed before, and begins playing along, while they continue singing the next verse. I can't be prouder as they dip their chins towards each other, singing about the musicians bowing to the women. I chuckled because it's so cute. I can't believe they did all of this in a few days. When they move into another stanza, I realize they moved the first stanza but the gentleman bowing to the last. Now when they say, gentlemen bow, they point to me, then continue playing. I'm ready when it comes around again and I jump up to execute my bows right on time before sitting down for the grand finale. As the last note plays, I set my phone down to start clapping wildly, whistling and all, as they point to one another to take their bows. Dorian skips over to me saying, Was I good, Papa? It was my first recital. I immediately pull her onto my lap, pushing her captain's hat back as I spot kisses all over her face until she giggles. Yes, my darling. You were fantastic in your first recital. You were both wonderful. I'm so proud of you. She's beaming from ear to ear, and that's when I realized that music is still softly playing in the background. Glancing over at Bronwyn, I see she's returned to the piano, and her fingers are flying over the keys in a relaxing, trippy tune that feels very jazzy. The song isn't fast, but it has an undercurrent of happiness. It's light-hearted, and it makes me smile since it definitely fits the current mood. Come, Doriane, I exclaim. Let's take a picture so we can remember your first recital. As she turns to smile up at the camera, I smile too, nipping her on the cheek while I hold the button for a shutter burst so it captures her squealing in laughter as she squirms away. Miss Brownie, come take a picture with us, Doriane begs. Bronwyn's hands pause on the keys as she spins towards us with a bright smile. It was your show, little one. You're the star, so it's only right that you take all the pictures. Doriane's lip pokes out and I automatically poop her nose. What did we learn? If we can't convince people with our words, then we can't change their minds with anything else. She finishes solemnly. Very good, my darling. That being said, I turn to Bronwyn, who's thoughtfully watching us. Miss Brownie, please take a picture with us. Bronwyn's brows shoot up as she waves her hands at me. No, this is for you two. If you want, I can take a picture for you. I smile innocently. But it's a memory that Doriane will be able to take back to France. Don't you want her to remember you? Please, Miss Brownie. Doriane adds for good measure. When Bronwyn looks at me askance with a smile on her face, I know we've got her. Still, I maintain my innocent look as she stands, crosses to us and sits on the sofa about an arm's length away. Looking at how stiffly she leans towards me and Doriane, I quip. I know my arms are long, but not that long. With a chuckle, she stands and sits closer. Lifting my arm over Doriane, I hold the camera out, but the angle still makes Bronwyn look as if she's a floating head. Do you want to lean closer? I'm as close as I can get here, she grumbles, trying to turn in the dress. Wait, I'll move my arm. Lifting Doriane in one hand, I slide close to Bronwyn and settling Doriane in my lap, I put my arm around her and take the picture, probably as a burst shot. For choices. Kissing Doriane's cheek, I stand her up. Her eye is quickly coming down as she gets quiet, so I give her a gentle nudge. Do you want to change into your pajamas and brush your teeth, my darling? Doriane nods. Yes, Papa. When she picks up her clothes without resistance and slowly walks to the bathroom, I know she's sleepy. That was fast. Turning to Bronwyn, I point towards the platter on the table. Why don't you have something to eat? Bronwyn's eyes alight on the meat and cheese, and as she picks up the old platter, sitting it in her lap, she exclaims, Oh, may blessings pursue you and overtake you, Michel. May male pattern baldness never reach you. May your knees never give out on you, and may your heart live forever. Wow, I smile. It's a good thing I brought food. I shudder to think what would happen to my hair and my knees otherwise. She chuckles, then quickly bends her head to pray. She lifts her head a few moments later, and it's almost as if she was bringing the bread to her mouth as her head rolls. Did you eat lunch today? She tilts her head as she chews. No. Kara Bartman came over from Madison Avenue. She wanted a meeting, and lunch was the only time that worked for her. My brows rise in surprise. So you gave up your lunch for her? Bronwyn spreads cheese and blueberry jam on another piece of bread and thoughtfully nibbles it. No, I just forgot to get something after. Pursing my lips, I sigh. And let me guess, she didn't have the decency to offer you lunch. She shrugs, shoving a piece of ham on top of another slice of bread and taking a bite. You can't go on like this, Winnie. You have to eat when it's time. Anyone and anything else can wait because you're important too. Like what you're hearing? Visit us at everblueauthor.substack.com for even more stories. Thanks for listening.